It was late afternoon in January 2003. The voice on the line was well-spoken, polite. The caller introduced himself as Joe Simon, an American film producer and art collector. He was ringing at the suggestion of David Hockney, his neighbor in Malibu. Without asking whether I had time to speak, this stranger launched into the reason for his call. A committee of experts called the Andy Warhol Art Authentication Board had declared 2 Warhols in his collection to be fake, and he wanted to know why. I was at my desk on the top floor of our house in North London, finishing a review for the Daily Telegraph, where I was the chief art critic. And at just that moment, I had a deadline. "No, sorry, stop right there," I said, explaining that I had no detailed knowledge of Warhol's work and would not dream of offering an opinion on the authenticity of one of his pictures. But my caller steamrolled over my objections, filling me in on the history of the Andy Warhol Art Authentication Board. I held out. No, we could not meet. He should try Christie's or Sotheby's. On he ploughed, ignoring my attempts to disengage. He was not asking for my verdict. He knew I was not an expert on Warhol. He just wanted me to look at his pictures and possibly tell him if I could spot any obvious reason why they were not authentic. Still, no. I did not have that kind of knowledge. Though that was true, it was also disingenuous. I was no expert on Warhol, but I had long experience authenticating and cataloguing works of art. I'm never paid for these consultations, although on rare occasions an auction house has sent me a case of good wine. Simon did not know this, and I certainly wasn't going to tell him. Nevertheless, he maintained his steel-plated determination to make me look at his picture. Just to get rid of him, I agreed to meet the following week. Scrawling his address in my diary, I hung up and instantly forgot about the whole thing. Though I couldn't help Simon, I had written a lot about Andy Warhol, mostly in the Telegraph. Every time I wrote about a new aspect of his work, I was dazzled by his genius. My first encounter with Andy Warhol's work took place when I was 18 years old. It was in March 1966, during my second year at Princeton, where I majored in art history. Warhol was already a household name, notorious for the Campbell's soup cans and Brillo boxes. But I knew nothing about the rock band he'd started to manage only 2 months earlier, the Velvet Underground. One day, an old friend, a student in the music department, told me the Velvets would be performing down the road, at Rutgers University. It was a school night during term time. Undergraduates were not allowed to leave campus without permission. I had a car, also not allowed, so off we went.